Are you talking, Steve?
Yeah, it is.
I was buried beneath my shame. Who could carry that kind of weight? It was my tomb till I met you. I was breathing but not alive. All my failures I tried to hide. It was my tomb till I met you. You called my name and I ran out of that grave. Out of the darkness into your glorious day. You called my name and I ran out of that grave. Out of the darkness into your glorious day. Now your mercy has saved my soul. And freedom is all that I know. The old made new. Jesus, when I met you, you called my name and I ran out of that grave. Out of the darkness into your glorious day. You called my name and I ran out of that grave. Out of the darkness into your glorious day. Now your mercy has saved my soul. And freedom is all that I know. The old made new. Jesus, when I met you, you called my name and I ran out of that grave. Out of the darkness into your glorious day. You called my name and I ran out of that grave. Out of the darkness into your glorious day. I needed rescue, my sin was heavy, but chains break at the weight of your glory. I needed shelter, I was an orphan, now you call me citizen of heaven. When I was broken, you were my healing, now your love is the air that I'm breathing. I have a future, my eyes are open, 'cause when you call my name, I ran out of that grave. Out of the darkness into your glorious day.
Good morning, everybody. It is sunny and nice outside, and it's the day after Easter. He is risen. What a service yesterday. What a service. Whoa. I didn't get to see the message, which I will get to see later today. But um, I, the music, I got to tell you a story because it's kind of fun. Saturday, we practiced for Sunday, and there were people on the stage that hadn't heard the song, including me, Dunn. Uh, when Heather sang that song, the opening worship song, and I was watching AJ as he as she started singing, and the expression on his face was like amazement. And many of us were a little taken aback because we know she's got a strong, powerful voice, but man, that song fit her. Whoa! So anyway, I thought the music was amazing, and I was sitting on stage, and there was many times I got chills from the sounds and the volume and just the spirit that was in the room during that time. I hope many of you felt the same way because it sure seemed that way. Pastor Tom was going to be off for 2 weeks, so I, in my just infinite wisdom, I thought, what a perfect time to start my devotion series called Unsupervised, right? And then first thing that pops up, the third thing that pops up is Tom Donnelly saying, "Good morning, root of men." I'm like, well, that kind of kills unsupervised, doesn't it? Which is, knowing me, uh, it's a good call by him to show up, especially with the verses that he gave me this morning. Yikes. Oh, I'm looking at these last night and I said, how can I do this and not offend everybody in the church? And many of us in the rooted men look at these verses and we've somewhere down the line cringed the thought of a ready devotion from them. But I'm going to give it a shot because that's what I do. Let's see who's with us. We don't have a lot of comments this morning. I only got like 4 comments. It says 16 people are online though. So welcome everybody that isn't talking. That's me. Ken Gooch says, good morning, fellow brothers in arms. Tom Donnelly says, good morning, rooted men. And Bert Reggiani says, good morning, gentlemen. And Milo says hi as well.
Milo says hi, Bert, too.
Okay, let's start off. Let me start off first thing first because I'll be honest with you, I might find these verses difficult to talk about in today's culture. Well, look at that. Good morning, Rob Longo. It's good to see you here. And Keith, good morning. Now comments are coming in. All right. Now we're talking. All right, so I wanted to start out today's verses with a little background because you know we understand that Corinth was a very cosmopolitan town. It was kind of like a New York City or a Paris, or it was busy. It was populated. There were there was it was known for its pagan worshippers. It was known for temple prostitution. It was known for philosophers of the day. You know how the Greeks were. Anyway, the church in this very cosmopolitan town is very open town. And I'll tell you what, you'll see a lot of parables. Not parables. A lot of parallels with the church today. It wasn't fighting these problems. It was absorbing them. It was the people were setting up camps on who to follow, not Jesus, but Paul or Cephas or Apollos. They had they're twisting stuff, right? They were treating church leaders as celebrities. They were having shocking immoral relationships. I mean, stuff that just people, the pagans, that's what they did. And so, but the church, instead of fighting that, were embracing it, sometimes boasting about it. They There was lawsuits between believers against believers. There were two extremes in marriage. One extreme was anything goes, and the other extreme is nothing goes. Nothing. All sex is bad, period. There were abuses in the Lord's Supper. There was chaos in the spiritual gifts, speaking in tongues that nobody's translating. Everything was self-centered. The worship in this church. There was sorry, I bumped the button. There was conflict as far as the biblical theology, like resurrection. Some believe there wasn't. Some believe there was. Paul had to deal with these issues one at a time, and you'll see in today's scriptures, it is very specific what he was trying to treat. Hey, good morning, AJ. How you doing? I was just talking about you earlier. Anyway, so here today's verses now. We get to these. I'll have to pull them up real quick because that was a really long intro to the scripture. Hopefully I don't run too late, but I just felt it needed to be said because these are the verses can be difficult, and if you don't put them in context, if you don't put them in the time of where they were and who they were, you'll never you can misinterpret these rules, and I guarantee you they've been misinterpreted over the years. All right, so we're looking at 1 through 9. So let's start with this. Now concerning them about the matters which you wrote. They wrote to him about this. So there was obviously some people in the church going, wait a minute, right? It is good for a man not to have sexual relations with a woman. But because of the temptation to sexual immorality, each man should have his own wife and each woman her own husband. I mean, this on the beginning makes total sense, right? The husband should give to his wife her conjugal rights, and likewise the wife to her husband. For the wife does not have authority over her body, but the husband does. Likewise, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but the wife does. Do not deprive one another, except perhaps by agreement for a limited time, so that you may devote yourself to prayer. But then come together again. Okay, we're going to stop for a second there because there's a lot there. He understood that temptation was real, right? And I guess in this church, some people would, like I told you before, they were gone to two extremes: anything goes or total abstinence. Knowing that he was fearing that the total abstinence would lead to temptation. Neither one, I mean, he's trying to point out that neither one is wrong if it's done with the right person, right? So he knew the temptation was real. And God provided marriage as the perfect issue for intimacy. Perfect issue for intimacy. It is responsibility of the husband and the wife to meet each other's needs. Marriage is about giving, not demanding, though. And I think sometimes how this can be misinterpreted is you do what I say because you're supposed to, and that's not his intention at all. The intention is for it to be not, how would I say it, a mutual agreement, right? Or an understanding. He tells them not to withhold intimacy for punishment or manipulation. And the only time they really should is where there's a mutual agreement, right? And so there's so much there as far as he's really trying to get to the roots of this. And then he goes on in verse 6 to say, now as a concession, not as a command, I say this: I wish you were all as I am myself. But each has his own gift from God, one of one kind and one of another. To the unmarried and the widows, I say that it is good for them to remain single, as I am. But if they cannot exercise self-control, they should marry, for it is better to marry than to burn with passion. There's a lot in these verses, and there are people today that would use them against the church. That would talk about men taking advantage of women, women taking advantage of men. There's so much there that that we have a tendency to look at it without context. And I think that's what we're doing here. God cares about your body. There's no doubt about that, right? His marriage isn't about it's about serving each other, not taking. So you hear people talk about, what they get out of a marriage. And maybe the thing is, maybe we should talk about what we give in a marriage. Being single is not a second class citizen. Paul really is explaining that he's trying to make a very good comparison here, that it's okay to be single. It's okay to be by yourself. It gives you time to focus with God. It gives you time to, but it's not for everybody. And he said, so he basically saying both are okay. and don't fight temptation alone. Maybe that's the best way of putting it. God's design for relationship isn't about restriction. It is about protection, purpose, and love. If there's anything we can take away from these verses is God is looking out for us. So the bad things don't happen. The things that shouldn't happen don't happen. And Paul dealing with a church that's somewhat out of control, and my phone ringing, and it never rings. All right. So I think I'm done. And I don't see any more comments that I want to share. And let's say, have a firmly rooted day, gentlemen. And we'll see you tomorrow. And hopefully I'm not in trouble. Have a firmly rooted day. Peace.